I'd like to get in your story, Sarah. You had to overcome a lot, many setbacks. I think it's so important to get into is looking way back where it all started for you. I believe it's all connected to your overall mindset and what you embody today. So let's get into that story. I believe it gave you this burning desire to change your lifestyle completely. Very, very early on, you talked about having debilitating anxiety and depression. You had also talked about alcohol addiction that transitioned into food addiction as well. Correct me if I'm wrong. And talk about those times from childhood to developing food addiction and how did that lead you to your path today?
I mean, I was always depressed and anxious as a child and overweight. We were medicated with food, really. I mean, my parents kind of just were doing the best that they could. And we definitely were medicated with food, and it was a comfort thing. And it was like, you have a bad day, you have a candy bar, you have a soda, that's just how I was raised. And in high school, I was medicated with SSRIs and from a young age, from 14, I was like told I was clinically depressed and put on medication. And so,
Mm,
I just kind of accepted it and went through, my high school and found drinking and partying and that was fun, and worked really well for me for a while. And it was like when I had my daughter, everything kind of exploded. When she got the diagnosis, it was like the alcohol got out of control, the depression and anxiety got out of control, like everything was completely out of control. And that's where I found yoga because of her. I thought yoga people were like weird and I want nothing to do with yoga people and I just didn't get it. But at that point in my life, I was just so desperate to find something to help me just function. And so that's, where I found yoga. And then I had started researching diet for my daughter. And at the same time, I was still struggling with alcohol addiction. I struggled with alcohol addiction for many years. Just as a self medication, there was the anxiety, the depression, everything going along with like, now being a stay at home mom, for having a full time career, now staying at home and just trying to figure this whole thing out. And so, yeah. And then doing the vegan thing as part of being a yoga teacher, I thought that was something that I kind of had to do.
mm,
And at first, I did feel really good. I felt
mm,
like really light and happy. And, I thought I was doing the
mm,
right thing. And then, like after about 6 months, I started not feeling so great, but I pushed
mm,
through for another year and a half. So I was vegan for 2 years.
mm,
And then one of my teachers, by the end of my vegan years, my depression and anxiety were worse. I was on like
mm,
5 different medications to deal with depression and anxiety and
mm,
um, all the stuff I was dealing with. I was not drinking at the time. I have a history of, being in recovery. So I got into recovery right, around the time my daughter was diagnosed, but I couldn't keep it. I couldn't keep recovery. I would just kind of bounce
mm,
in and out and couldn't really stay off the alcohol. So, at the end of my veganism, I was just a mess. I was on a bunch of medication. I wasn't drinking at the
mm,
time. But I eventually did relapse and go back to
mm,
drinking. And it was a mess. So I started finally getting desperate enough where I
mm,
had to eat meat again. I had to do that
mm,
to repair my health. And then decided I needed to stop drinking again. I was drinking
mm,
for like a year
mm,
and got back into recovery. And this time in recovery, I ended up gaining like 30 pounds. My addiction went from alcohol to food.
mm,
And I was just on the carbs and the processed foods
mm,
like constantly. It was awful. It was like a new addiction. Um, and so, yeah, I wasn't drinking, but my relationship with food was all screwed up. And so, after I think I hit that second year of sobriety,
mm,
that's when my health started really giving me trouble. And I couldn't practice yoga. I had extra weight. I had all this stuff going on. And that's when I found carnivore. And
mm,
like I said, the pain and inflammation in my body was like gone quickly.
mm,
And then I didn't have to take medications anymore, which was the
mm,
coolest part. It's been It's been a while now because I quit taking
Mm,
medications before I started carnivore. I was just like, I'm done with this. I don't want to do these anymore. I'm done with these medications. So I've been off of, but I've never been able to stay off. So I've been
mm,
off of all medication for, I want to say like 5 years now, which is something I never thought would happen. But as long as I keep my self off of sugar
mm,
and more in a ketogenic state, I'm fine. Like, I don't
mm,
need medication. I don't deal with like that crippling anxiety, that doom and gloom feeling. I don't, that just
mm.
doesn't happen for me anymore, which is like nothing short of a miracle because I had it since I was a kid, you know?
Wow,
It's a
there's a
lot.
lot to
I
unpack
know. I
there.
just was,
Oh no. Man, so what have you learned being on 2 years being vegan? What have you learned uh being vegan for 2 years?
um, I learned a lot about
Mm-hmm.
sprouting beans and
Mm-hmm.
soaking nuts. And like, I try to do it the right way. And I
Mm-hmm.
tried
Mm-hmm.
to sustain it. I try to take all the
Mm-hmm.
supplements that, your B12 and
Mm-hmm.
I try to do everything that I could to sustain it
Mm-hmm.
because I really did feel like at the time I was doing the right thing.
Uh-huh.
But
What
I
was the
got
goal?
just
What yeah.
the goal,
Mm-hmm.
just that I was a yoga teacher, and in
Mm.
yoga we talk about this principle called ahimsa, which is non-harming or non-violence.
Mm.
It's one of the spiritual precepts of yoga. Yoga is not just posture and going in a
Mm-hmm.
class and
Mm-hmm.
wearing cute pants. I mean, it's like a whole
Gotcha.
lifestyle. There's
Mm-hmm.
it's an ancient tradition, and I really wanted to live the yoga lifestyle. And
Mm.
so it was a teacher of mine that took me aside. I was doing like an advanced training, and he took me aside and he's like, "Look, I know you're trying to do ahimsa. I know you're trying to
Mm-hmm.
do non-harming and non-violence to the
Mm-hmm.
animals, but what about you? Like,
Mm.
you're doing violence to yourself because you're
Right.
sick and you're way too skinny. You're
Mm-hmm.
not well. I can tell by looking at you. You're not well. You're
Mm-hmm.
aging quickly, and you're not going to be able to be of
Mm-hmm.
service to your students or your family if you keep up the vegan thing." And it's just, and he's like, "I've been teaching for 20 years. I've
Mm-hmm.
seen this happen over and over and over again. And you can eat meat
Mm-hmm.
and be a teacher, be a yoga teacher. You can eat meat and still call yourself a yogi. You can eat meat and be of service. Um, so stop thinking that that's what you
Mm.
have to do." And so that, yeah, that was really the goal. Is I
Mm-hmm.
just was trying to do what I thought was the right thing at the time,
Mm.
the right lifestyle.
Yeah, and then after that, when you got off of it, you went back into your old habits of, um, did you say you were drinking but again at the
I
time?
did, after I
Mm-hmm.
quit vegan, like my mental health got
Mm-hmm.
so bad with
Mm-hmm.
veganism. I was on so many different medications and then they
Mm-hmm.
just weren't even working anymore. And so I just got to this place of desperation.
Mm-hmm.
Alcohol for me was about self-medicating. Food has
Mm-hmm.
always been about
Mm-hmm.
self-medicating. And so, I was taking all these different medications when I was vegan, and at the end of the day, they just weren't working at the end of the day. And I was like, well, I just might as well just drink.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a really poor choice.
Mm.
It made
Yeah.
things a lot worse than it was. But
2 years is
that's,
a long time. Two
yeah,
years is a long time.
it is
Um,
definitely.
Leading up to carnivore, what did you think about it in the beginning? Did you ease your way into it, or how did you incorporate carnivore into your lifestyle, transitioning into your lifestyle?
I just ripped the band-aid off, just did
Mm,
it.
cold turkey.
Just like, let's just do it. Yeah.
Mm.
There was no transition period. I just started.
Do you
Yeah.
remember your first day on carnivore?
Um, Barely. I mean, barely. I remember there was a little starting and stopping with
Mm-hmm.
that, but I remember I had ordered Butcher Box because someone had said Butcher Box was great, which I don't support
Mm-hmm.
them anymore. I support local farms. But I was just eating, some whatever meat that I had ordered at a
Mm-hmm.
Butcher
Mm-hmm.
Box. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
know anything about cooking a steak or anything about cooking meat at all. I was like
Yeah.
just kind of figuring it out. I just bought an air fryer and was like, well, All right, here we go.
How was that? How was your first week? Do you remember just withdrawal? Did you have that withdrawal symptoms when you got started? What do you remember at that stage?
I definitely had a headache and I was very
Mm,
tired. I
mm,
remember distinctly, I was really tired for like a month
mm,
and I didn't know anything about electrolytes at the time. So if I could go back and do it again, I would have been
mm,
replenishing my minerals because that's huge for people that don't have carbohydrates in there in a low insulin state. You
mm,
have to replenish your electrolytes or you're going to feel like crap. So yeah, I did not feel good that first month at
mm,
all.
mm,
But then after, probably the first month, then I started feeling really, really
mm,
good. And so many things were getting better for me that I was like, I'm tired and I don't really feel like amazing, but I'm feeling so good and so many other
mm,
ways
mm.
that I'm going to keep going.
So many people whom I interviewed about the carnivore lifestyle have experienced and told stories about the diet just gave them more freedom. I know you talked about
Hmm.
freedom as one of the benefits. Um, Talk about that and what freedom you experience on carnivore. What do you mean by freedom?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have sugar cravings and I
Mm,
don't feel controlled by food all the time. It's like, oh, it's time to eat. Cool.
mm,
It doesn't take up my whole brain anymore like it used to. Like I was planning, what am I going to eat and what time? And like, can I get this dessert and can I have this snack? Like, I don't feel like I have to snack all the time. I don't need
mm,
to eat every 2 or 3 hours. Like, I just ate. It's 2:20 here, and I literally like just ate at 1:45 right before
mm.
this, and because I just wasn't
Yeah.
super hungry. And the last thing I ate yesterday was at 6 o'clock,
Mm,
and I was like, oh, I could fast a little bit today, so I can go long periods of time without eating. If I'm not
mm,
hungry for dinner tonight, then I won't eat dinner tonight. I'll just wait and eat tomorrow. Like so that's like unheard of for
mm,
me back when I was eating more of a standard American diet. I
mm.
couldn't fast. Like I had to have something to eat every 2 or 3 hours always.
When did you realize that this was the right lifestyle for you? How far into the diet have you realized that it is you could sustain this lifestyle?
Probably like 3 to 4 months in.
Mm,
Because I just, I got to that point where I was like, I don't really want to go back to eating the carbohydrates. I really just don't like how it makes me feel. Um, and then I just kind of was like, there's not really a need for me to go back to like, why?
mm,
There's no health problems or
mm,
anything like that. So why would I? So yeah. And it's just like the longer I've done it, the more it's like,
mm,
I don't want to be bogged down by needing to snack all the time
mm,
and all the stuff that comes along with eating that way, all the inflammation and the sleep issues and all that stuff. Like I
yeah.
don't,
How's the
why would I want to
inflammation,
go
by the
back?
way? Going back to your practicing yoga, you said that you couldn't even practice yoga
Hmm.
because of the so much inflammation in your body. When did you felt that the inflammation is going away uh, in the beginning?
Yeah, just like about 2 or 3 weeks, and I
Mm,
felt like it was
yeah,
gone. Honestly, yeah,
that quick.
yeah,
Wow.
it went away really quickly. Yeah,
Wow. That's amazing. And you've been teaching yoga for over a
yeah,
decade now.
yeah, yeah.
And you also teach yoga and carnivore to your clients? Is that?
Yeah, I
Mm-hmm,
do. I have like right now I'm doing a private membership group that's ongoing,
mm-hmm,
but I do run group challenges as well. And in my group challenges, I teach a virtual yoga class every
mm-hmm,
Saturday. And so I integrate that
mm-hmm,
into coaching if people want it.
mm-hmm,
I encourage, if people just want to come to me for coaching just for the nutrition piece only,
mm-hmm,
that's fine. I do that. Um, but I really encourage people to look at their lifestyle as a whole. It's not just the food.
mm-hmm.
There's
Yeah.
so much more than just the food. The food is basic.
Mm-hmm,
Like the food is like bottom of the pyramid. Yeah. But you got to do a lot of other things if you really want the best results, if you really want your health in
mm-hmm.
a good place.
You talk about having an individualized approach and a no one size fits all mentality with your clients. If I'm a client and I'm someone that wants to take that leap, maybe I have a few weight to lose. What does that mean when I'm looking for the right lifestyle for me? What does an individual approach mean?
Yeah, I mean, usually when I do an initial
Mm,
call with my clients, I'll sit down with them and say, let's talk about a 24-hour time period for you, like a
mm,
typical 24-hour time period. I want to hear everything from the moment you wake up until you go to sleep. I want to hear what you encounter on a daily basis, what your habits are, good and bad. And we are going to build a framework around that to adapt a program for you, that's going to include getting your circadian rhythms back where they need to be, because most people that I work with, their circadian rhythms and their relationship with light is a complete disaster, and that's
mm,
leading to a lot of other issues. um, and yeah, a lot of people just have really bad habits and they don't even know that that
mm.
it's really bad habits that we need to take a look at, as part of a whole program.
So, give me an example of that. And what is a circadian rhythm for somebody that doesn't know?
Yeah, circadian rhythm is just basically like sleep and wake cycles.
Mm,
And, we repair in our sleep. If your sleep is bad,
mm,
you're going to have a really difficult time meeting your goals to lose weight or to heal whatever you're trying to accomplish with your health.
mm,
If your sleep is bad, then we're in trouble. Like, we really have to work on that
mm,
first. And getting a good night's sleep starts with how you wake up. Do you go outside and get natural light in your eyes every single morning?
mm,
Or do you wake up and go straight to your phone and start scrolling and
mm.
start
Yeah.
answering emails and like start your day with stress? Or do you start the day with the
Mm,
way it's supposed to start, with natural rhythms? And so it's about getting your body back into balance. And food is definitely a part of that. But like I said, we have to look at your sleep, your
mm,
habits around light. If I have somebody who's working behind a computer in an office all day, we're going to strategize about how much can they go outside and put their bare feet in the grass.
mm,
How much fresh air can you get? I'm sitting here with my window open right now, because I want natural light coming in. I'm drinking like water that's been
mm,
mineralized, with ketone minerals and hydrogen, because I have a ring light on and that's stressful to my body. I'm looking at a computer screen and that's
mm.
stressful to my body. So I'm not going to tell someone to quit their job, and but we have to mitigate those things that are stressful to the body. Does that make sense?
It makes sense, and a lot of people have found success in the way you do it. Looking at the testimonials about how they overcame their weight issues. I was just
Mhm.
looking at your YouTube earlier, and it's just a lot of people have been really been successful and thriving right now. What have you seen common with these people, whether mindset or habits that has been applied? What have you seen common with these people that found success in this lifestyle?
I think that they don't make excuses all
Mm,
the time. Like, my biggest issue is that people are arguing for their limitations a lot.
mm,
And that is very frustrating to
yeah,
me,
yeah.
because I could really argue a lot for my limitations if I wanted to. We all
Mm,
have things that we've had to overcome, that we are going to have to overcome, that we are overcoming presently. And
mm,
if somebody comes to me with an attitude full of excuses and reasons why they can't adhere to what I'm telling them to do, then I'm like, perhaps you need to work with someone else, because
mm,
I can listen to people that say, they've got issues and hardships in their life. We can talk through them. But if every time I try to be helpful with someone and
mm,
offer advice, they throw up a reason why they can't do what I'm
mm.
asking, then it's like, all right, well, just come back when you're ready. you know?
Straight up, come back when
Yeah,
you're
I
ready.
can't help you if you're, yeah,
Mm.
I really can't. Yeah.
So goal setting. What do you when you talk about goal setting with your clients? What's the goal that would set me up for success, or is there any?
I mean, I'd just like to talk with the client and see what they want to
Mm,
accomplish for
mm,
themselves. That I want them to have a clear vision of what success looks like. And then we can work towards that. Like, I want to know what your goals are, what you want
mm.
for yourself. And I want them to have a very clear vision of that, so I can help them kind of get there.
Wow. So when you talk to your clients about transitioning into a diet like a carnivore lifestyle, and they're kind of scared of fat and what that means, um, how do you explain that lifestyle to people? Because I could be wanting to make a change, but if I can't overcome the idea of fat is bad for you, like, because I incorporate before keto, I incorporate fat with heart disease,
Mm-hmm.
chronic illness, or fat makes you fat, and all of that. If I can't get over that, it's it's gonna linger in my mind, and I'm not gonna be successful. How do you explain that part to people when they encounter that same problem?
Yeah, and there's education.
Mm.
It's all about education. And I have several resources,
Mm-hmm.
that I will point them to. Dave Feldman, Dr. Barry puts out very simple information on his YouTube channel.
Mm-hmm.
We're lucky in this community in this day and age in
Mm-hmm.
2021. There's a plethora of
That's right.
information out there for people if they really, like your podcast, I'm
Mm-hmm.
sure, and my podcast interviewing different doctors and different people.
Mm-hmm.
I think education is key because we have been brainwashed in our society to believe that saturated fat is going to kill us, the sun's going to kill us, that,
Mm-hmm.
all these things we're being told and to be afraid of. Basically, if it's like a mainstream narrative,
Yeah.
a good rule of thumb is to do the opposite of
Mm-hmm.
what that is, in my opinion.
Yep.
So yeah, if somebody comes to me with a fear of fat and think they're going to clog their
Mm-hmm.
arteries, I'm going to point them to resources to allow them to educate
Mm.
themselves, because they're going to have to shift that paradigm in their mind if they want to be
Mm.
successful, if they really want to do this.
Man, Sarah, you've been, man, you tried everything, and it seems like you've done your studies, expertise. You're an expert, and you've done it through experience and trial and error. Um, and you found this lifestyle to be working for you, and now you're thriving and helping other people find their own health through this lifestyle. So I again thank you so much for coming on, sharing your story. If you'd like to learn more about Sarah, go to her website carnivoreyogi.com, Carnivore Yogi on YouTube, and at carnivore.yogi on Instagram. This has been a blast, Sarah. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story. And if I miss anything, where can they find you? If,
Yeah, I
mm,
think you hit it. Carnivore.yogi on Instagram, and then just go on YouTube and search for Carnivore Yogi, and those are the best places to find me. And my work in the Carnivore Yogi podcast is on Apple, Spotify, anywhere you can find podcasts. So yeah, thanks
Thanks,
for having me.
Sarah.